Welcome into the show. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Senior, and on the docket for today's show, could Chase Young return to the Niners in free agency? Former Niners linebacker who really played well for the Tennessee Titans in 2023, Azeez Al-Shaair, hinting at a return to the Bay, and new names in the mix to become the next Niners defensive coordinator to take over for Steve Wilks. First, want to thank the faithful for supporting this show, the largest independently run Niners channel on YouTube. We just surpassed and reached 131,000 subscribers. So if you want Niners shows every single day that are informative, insightful, and entertaining, make sure you hit that sub button. Thanks for getting us past 130,000 and to 131,000 subscribers. As for the latest on Chase Young, could he come back, and could we see the trade deadline acquisition rocking the scarlet, red, and gold once again? 49ers Sports Talk on Twitter with the report here. Been told that it'll be tough for Chase Young to land a long-term deal. That's not all that surprising considering the injury issues and the lack of effort issues, but also the drop-off in production. Solid for Washington. And then with San Francisco, 9 games, 2.5 sacks. And when I take a look at some of the contract projections out there for Chase Young, even though he's young, even though he has a lot of talent, even though you look at him and he looks like an absolute physical specimen as an edge rusher with power, bend, speed, physicality, it only looks like he's going to get a short-term deal. And the projections out there, 1 year, $15 million. And the injury history plays a role in that with the knee, but also the effort issues have diminished his value a little bit, because if a team is looking at Chase Young, you have the highs, but you have some lows. You have some positive moments, but you have that lack of hustle. That was the word after the Commanders traded him to the Niners, but also those injury issues. So why would an organization with a player like this want to gamble and give him a multi-year deal worth $15+ million? That's a risky investment. Think about it if you were operating a business, right? And you weren't sure about an employee. They have some good days. They have some bad days, but the effort isn't always there. You're not going to give them 6 figures all the time, right? The flashes of elite, though, this is why Chase Young is a polarizing and tantalizing player. He came to play in Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas against the Kansas City Chiefs. Had a sack, a tackle for loss, 2 quarterback hits in that Super Bowl matchup. In the first half, the Niners defensive line had it going on as Patrick Mahomes was under siege, but then the frustrations. He has 7.5 sacks in 2023, but only 2.5 with San Francisco in 9 games. You're thinking, oh my goodness, with Chris Kosarek, arguably the best defensive line coach in the NFL, on the opposite side of Nick Bosa, on this team that is very sound and talented at all 3 levels, Chase Young's going to be able to pop off, right? He only has 2.5 sacks in 9 games with the Niners, and again, had some of those good moments, but some of those bad moments as well, and that's what you have to live with, I think, realistically moving forward with Chase Young. But then going back to the potential there, he's still a really, really young player. You look at the numbers from this past year in 2023, 7 games played with the Commanders, as I said, 15 tackles, 6 TFLs, 5 sacks, 9 quarterback hits, and a pass breakup. And then with the Niners, in those 9 games played, had the 10 tackles, only 1 TFL. Wasn't as good against the run as he's capable of being. While with Washington, I thought he was pretty disruptive in the backfield against the run, crashing the edge, setting the edge. Those 6 quarterback hits, not a bad number, but just wasn't consistent enough. And when you talk about a lack of consistency with a player like Chase Young, that's why some of these teams are a little bit wary of giving him big-time dollars in free agency, because they're just not sure what type of production they're going to get and what type of player they're going to get week in and week out, but also throughout the entire duration of that contract. So 1 year, $15 million, you think about that, and that's why it's a possibility. I think he could come back to the Niners here. You bet on the potential. You hope that Chris Kosarek can elevate him. You hope the defensive coordinator can help the Niners generate a little bit more of a pass rush as compared to last year. And that 1 year, $15 million deal, think about it from the Niners standpoint, and this front office fits the Niners' wants, the needs, as well as the timeline here if they were to try to bring him back to the San Francisco 49ers. 1 year, $15 million for Chase Young. What would you do if you're general manager John Lynch? D for do the deal, P for pass. I might actually do the deal. And what I'm also intrigued by are some of the Pro Football Focus numbers for Chase Young. Overall PFF grade of 74.4, a pass rush grade of 75.8. He had 66 pressures this year on the quarterback. That was top 15 among all players in the NFL, and 48 hurries. So again, the ability is certainly there. So we are going to check off that Chase Young box. Still to come here on the show, does Azeez Al-Shaair hint at a return, and does he want to be a 49er once again, and a new name and new names in the mix to become the next Niners defensive coordinator? Before we get to that, make sure you sign up with Prize Picks, America's best daily fantasy sports app. And if you use our link at the bottom of your screen, prizepicks.com/CLNS, you get a $100 deposit match. Again, that's prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS. You choose more or less on a player's individual and projected stat line, and you can win up to 25 times your money. That's what I was able to do for the 2023 NFL season. It's just easy and exciting daily fantasy sports. We care about you. We want you to win and add to your bank account. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. The football season might be in the rear view, but as we look ahead, it's almost tournament basketball time. Bang! prizepicks.com/CLNS. Azeez Al-Shaair. Could the Niners bring him back? Does he want to come back? He posted his pick 6 against Minnesota from the 2021 season on Kirk Cousins when he took it to the crib. Actually, it wasn't a pick 6, I guess. He almost took it to the crib for a pick 6, but he posted that play on his Instagram. You get the point. And could he come on home? The Dre Greenlaw injury, him tearing his Achilles in the Super Bowl on what was just so fluky, which then severely impacted the Niners defense for the rest of the game, changes the outlook and the overall perspective on the linebacker position for the Niners this offseason. Are the Niners going to sign a linebacker like Azeez Al-Shaair? Familiarity with the system, has played really well. When Greenlaw was out a couple of years ago, Al-Shaair had 100 tackles. Do you play D. Winters and Jalen Graham, who you took late in the draft, and those two players displayed some potential in the preseason as rookies and then didn't play at all throughout the regular season? Here's the issue. Azeez Al-Shaair played so well for Tennessee last year as he followed Ran Carthon, who became the Titans general manager after being in the Niners front office from 2017 on, to Tennessee, and he played great with his first opportunity to be a full-time starter in this league. And because he played so well, 5th in tackles, 5th in TFLs, he might be too expensive for the Niners' liking. But salary cap going up to $255 million. Yesterday's show, we talked about that Mike Silver piece in which he detailed how San Francisco might make difficult decisions with veterans on their roster, but also how they might get aggressive and go all in on 2024. Could the Niners go all in, say fuck it, and decide to sign Azeez Al-Shaair? Look at the numbers from 2023. 163 tackles. He was a playmaking machine from sideline to sideline, all around the field at that linebacker spot. Coverage linebacker, good against the run, blitzing as well. And his coverage stats, allowed a completion rate, 77.2%, 390 yards. Only gave up 1 touchdown. You'll take that. 4 pass breakups, 1 pick. Quarterback rating, 100.8. It's not all that fantastic, but some of the other numbers were pretty solid. And then the sample size is certainly there. This is a classic example of Ran Carthon looking at a player, thinking that he is going to develop and progress into a really solid player, and they ended up getting him on a 1-year deal worth not that much money, and they got a great bang for the buck. And you think back to that 2021 season, that's the clip in which Azeez Al-Shaair posted that interception off Kirk Cousins at Levi's, rocking the 75th anniversary patch on the chest. He had more than 100 tackles that year. And in 2022, 12 games played. And then in 2023, he's back, reaching the century mark as far as tackles. He's a perfect fit for what the Niners want to do. We know San Francisco as an organization always prioritizes the linebacker spot. It's part of the backbone of what they do defensively, not just with Fred Warner, but with Dre Greenlaw as well. And then lastly, he's just a really good player. He wants to come back. I'm in on that as well. Let's get to the Niners' search for a new defensive coordinator. The search continues. We're about 2 weeks in at this point. My guy, Niners Sports Talk, once again, give him a follow on Twitter. He's been doing some really good stuff. You might look at that Twitter account and say, he's just an aggregator. No, he's got some inside sources. He's been on point with some of this stuff here. He broke this news that the Niners planning to interview Jets defensive backs coach Marquand Manuel for their DC position. Manuel had a history with Kyle Shanahan from their Atlanta Falcons days, played DB at the NFL level, also has defensive coordinator experience on his resume. By the way, that's 2 external minority hires for the Niners. They have fulfilled, if this interview is official, the Rooney Rule, which unfortunately is a rule that we have to talk about. And Matt Barrows with this one as well. This coming in late, this would be a 3rd minority hire. The Niners interviewed new Raiders safeties coach Gerald Alexander for the defensive coordinator spot earlier today. So that's earlier today as in earlier on Friday as wow. I just looked at the clock and we've been grinding in the lab, just busting our asses here. Radio Row, Indianapolis, 2024 NFL Combine, and it's March 1st already. We're 2 months into 2024. Crazy. Chase, what happened? All right, give me a follow on X. Give me a follow on Instagram at Chase_Senior. Appreciate everybody who's followed along this week and given me a new follower. If you're a new follower on social media, type me down in the comment section. You see the figures here to my right. To the moon!